Hey, you've summoned a lesser maker. I gotta make some giant rats. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be facing off with Get Tabled. He's another YouTuber, and he said that he would be willing to help me out with a Catacombs battle report. So he'll film it, he'll edit it, and then post it to his channel, and that kind of takes a lot of weight off my shoulders. I was experimenting with a sketch. Let's see, where is it? There it is. All right. I drew this. I thought it would be really cool to make a giant rat as a stand-in instead of dire wolves for my Undead Warband. If you don't know, my Undead Warband is witch themed and not like vampire themed. So I'm kind of trying to reflavor things a little bit. The first step, I want to make a 3D model that's physical. So we're going to kit bash these animal bits. We're going to use like the heads and just kind of cobble together a physical 3D model for me to kind of use as a reference for when I get into the program. Speaking of program, I should probably mention, I'm going to make an STL that you guys can download at the end of this video. Most of my STLs have to do with terrain, but I haven't really dabbled with miniatures. A while ago, I made this necromancer for the Lich's Laboratory, and I really love this thing. The pose is really dynamic and punchy. The software I've used so far has been kind of limiting. I use things like Tinkercad and Illustrator and Adobe, and then SculptFab for like fine details. And I've been able to get some pretty good results, but I would really like to make better STLs for you guys and for me. So I downloaded Blender, and Blender is a free software where you can do like much finer details and much better miniature making. To be honest, I've never downloaded this thing before, and so I'm really new to it. So I don't know if I'll even be able to make an STL that's good this week. So having a physical miniature is kind of a backup.
I'm limited to this kit bash with the amount of shapes I have, but I do want to get as close to this sketch as possible. So if you grab these toys from the dollar store, I'm using the head of the kangaroo and the feet. I'm using the body of a sheep, the front hands of the gorilla, and a tail of a snake. Man, I'm sounding like Michael Scott at the moment.
Like something with the body of a walrus, with the head of a sea lion.
Super glue wasn't sticking to this model, so I used green stuff, and that worked really great. To make the fur, I made these little tufts of hair, and kind of like shingles, I laid them on top of each other, and that worked pretty good. Texturing models isn't my strong suit, especially in a physical manner, so hopefully when I get over to the digital side, it'll be much easier.
I think it's all right. It doesn't have a lot of proportions. I think it's time to finally download that thing and just kind of try it out. But this was a really good experiment. You ever realize that we just kind of grew up to be Sid from Toy Story? Huh. Well, I guess I should probably get started.
So I've already been learning 3D softwares through in-browser softwares like Tinkercad and SculptFab. I'm gonna be kind of doing the basics by retexturing some existing 3D models that I downloaded from Thingiverse. This first one was just a dire rat, and I'm just trying to make it look like it has fur. To be honest, it's not that great, but I'm just feeling out the software. This is literally my first experience with it, and this next one's a skeever from Skyrim, and I retextured it, and it was way too fat, so it was time to start over again.
I was really surprised with how much of my knowledge from those free programs applied to Blender. Go try Tinkercad and SculptFab. They're free. You can just open it up in your browser, and they're really great. Obviously, Blender's another free program, but it honestly felt like those free programs were just getting me ready to like graduate to this one. So, but Blender has a lot of options in there, and maybe it's better to start with like the easier programs that have a bit of limitations because it doesn't overwhelm you as much. The nice thing about Blender is that there are so many tutorials. Like, so I feel like I'm learning faster in Blender than I was with those like free softwares. So yeah, go check it out. Let's get this printed.
So I sliced this file in Lychee, and actually this is my first experience doing this, and that software is a lot easier than I had originally thought, and the support's peeled off really nice too. I haven't printed in a while because I got a new plant-based resin, and I kind of scared myself out of trying to figure out the settings for it. And luckily, I nailed it like second try, so that was pretty lucky. After cleaning them in alcohol, I'd put them in my fancy UV cure station.
I think they turned out really good. I was really happy with these. Just as a safety net, just in case, I ordered some rats on Amazon. And here's them. Obviously that's not gonna work, but I just thought I'd show you.
So I based these with some plaster cobblestones that I made a mold for a couple weeks ago, and some Citadel skulls, and I glued all this down with super glue gel. I primed it with my airbrush because I was out of my aerosol can, and unfortunately all the painting footage was out of focus, and I mean, you can get the gist of how painting gray rats looks. So it's a lot of back and forth, and honestly you could probably do it in less steps than I ended up doing. So I'll end the episode with thanking my Patreon members, and we'll send you off. Patreon is only $2 a month, so if you're interested in supporting the channel, feel free to do it in that way, or just like, comment, and subscribe. That goes a really long way as well. I have yet to get a YouTube paycheck, so having Patreon members really helps fund the channel, and especially helps fund those bigger projects like the Mordheim Catacomb board. But the majority of the channel is something I fund myself. It would be really difficult to make all these videos without their support. So thank you so much to Leroy, Fetter, Caracal, Old School FRP, Burning Heart Custom Creations, James, Anders, Hanover, Grim Drunk, Treborius, Andy, Corey, Mike, Nicholas, Glitches Laboratory, Cabu, The Pessimist, Seb, Lori, Nunu, Raph, Jonathan, Fabio Soroso, Doom Chupacabra, Sinister Grackle, Silver Fishton, and C.J. I really genuinely appreciate your guys' support. Man, that list is getting long and it's kind of surreal. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a good one.